Alrighty then, welcome to episode 3 of Q&A. I got my good friend Walter. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Wouter. I did some cycling in the past as well, not as much as Joe, but
But we both done bike touring.
I did some bike touring.
And it's kind of a strange story how we met, because you borrowed my friend's bike, which I let. It's a really long story. I won't get into it.
Mm-hmm.
We're just here to answer cycling questions.
Yeah.
So let's just begin with question 1. If you were a bicycle part, which part of the bicycle would you be? It's from a friend of mine. You want to answer first?
Well, for some reason, saddle comes up to mind, but don't really know why.
And for me, it's probably a bike frame, because both of them last quite long, and they have character and scars and stuff like that. Kind of relates to a human.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, number 2 from Walter himself on Facebook. So this one's probably towards me. What came to mind is that what's it like to be on the bike for you? Is it lonely at times? For me, I really wish that I could share the experience with someone. Yeah, well, I actually have ridden with 3, let me think, 1, 2, 3, and a few other friends, let's say 5 in total. I've ridden with a bunch of different people, but long distance, I would say 2 or 3 people. And it just completely changes the dynamic. It's strange. When you stay at places, you have to kind of coordinate that you have to stay with 2 people, so it's going to cost more. During the day, you have to see how far both of you are willing to go on the bike, and just even general dynamics of people. So you've toured with, you've hiked with a friend as well, and it's the same thing. It's just with a bike in between, and it creates very difficult dynamics. Like if you don't have a nice day together, then that obviously affects the whole day, and maybe the whole ride. And maybe you don't want to ride, or maybe you do, and maybe you go further. It's too difficult to describe, really. Yeah. Anyway, question 3, which is from my grandma, actually. I've watched this person go from place to place, and how many miles have you done now? In total, I've done about 49,000 kilometers or 50,000 K, and I don't remember what that is in miles. 5, that's like 30, something like that, 30,000. Anyway, it's a long way. Long story short. Question 4. Now, the question 4 I had from a direct message from a friend of mine on Facebook, and I wanted to. It's a long list of loads of questions, so I've split it into kind of like part 1, part 2. So I'll release the rest of the questions in the number 5, and Walter and I can answer these questions in tandem. So the first one is, what do you drink energy drinks or sport drinks when you're riding? Personally, no, I try and avoid it.
No, me neither.
When it comes to like Fanta and Coca-Cola, no way. I think it's
Same.
crap, and the sugars just gives you too much energy, and you feel like awful. Yeah.
It's empty energy.
Mm-hmm.
Empty energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, next one. Do you feel lonely on your long adventures?
Sometimes. That's why I ask you the question.
Right.
To start off with.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. I mean, when I would ride with someone for enough time, I then eventually wanted to be on my own. Mm-hmm. So it kind of, in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been touring, it kind of went on and off.
Yeah, same.
So 6 months I wanted to really hang out with someone and ride at the same time, or the next 6 months I wanted to be on my own, and it was just, I found it easier mentally or something. It was just easier to find places.
Yeah, same for me. I enjoyed myself really on my own, and I could really go every way I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Pitch my tent everywhere I wanted.
Exactly.
And with another person,
they were picky or wanted something different.
it's more different.
Yeah.
It's completely different dynamics, as you say yourself, and you're
I've-
reliable on each other.
I mean, I find that when I'm camping with someone, I find it easier because then like you got like two sets of eyes looking out for you and the bike and you know,
Mhm.
stuff like that, which I kind of like. And like if
Yeah.
you go into a shop, you can leave both the bikes out, one person looks after it. You know,
Mhm.
that sort of thing is useful. What's the scariest? Next question. What's the scariest thing or situation you've experienced? I would say personally, I had a recent accident in Canada, which I'll just leave a link in the description. I don't really want to discuss it, which was pretty horrifying. Is the best way I can put it. And I've had other experience of people have hit me with a car, but nothing like this one up in Canada was pretty awful. And other things is more like if there are dogs chasing you, but that's like a normal like it gets pretty I get used to it eventually. What would be your thing? Scariest moment?
I have pretty hard to think of something, but I reckon it's the first night of wild camping, which I found pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you just you do something
Out of your comfort zone.
out of the comfort zone, and what's it like? What's gonna happen? Am I gonna be chased away? Whatever.
Yeah, I will agree
Yeah,
with that.
yeah.
My first time was also like that as well
Hmm.
for wild camping. It was kind of
Mhm.
fun. Yeah. Anyway, next one. What's the most awesome thing or situation you've experienced while cycling? That's a really tough one. I mean, define it. Like, is it to do with the scenery? Is it to do with the people you meet? Was it on that day somehow you managed to push through an epic day of riding or something? I don't know. There's too many, really.
Yeah. Well, of course, there's been plenty of beautiful landscapes, but for me personally, it's the generosity and the help of people which just comes out of nowhere sometimes and can
That's
really
true.
change things.
Yeah, one experience that just popped in my mind. I was in the north of Sweden, and I stupidly decided to continue on that day, even though it was like I think it was 5 degrees Celsius in summer. Like it was July still in Sweden, and it started to rain. There was a northerly wind. It was horribly cold, and it was just completely wet. And I continued riding, and then eventually I couldn't stand it any longer. I was hypothermic almost. I was shivering. I didn't know what to do. I pulled up next to the first house I saw, and I asked, "Can someone help?" There was no one. Eventually, I saw a car, and I asked for some help. He said, "Try the train station up there," and there was a train station just up the hill. So I walked up the hill, and then eventually knocked on the door. No one answered. I waited, and eventually the guy let me in, and I got a cup of tea. He gave me some free winter skiing gloves for riding, and for some reason on that day I said, "Okay, I'll continue riding," because I had the ski gloves now and I was warmed up, and it made a huge difference. It was so horribly cold. I remember how awful that day was, and that guy's generosity and his help for letting me in was really amazing. Even though it took 15 minutes for him to let me in, because he wasn't sure at first, sort of thing. But yeah, that's probably a really interesting experience. When it comes to awesome experiences, though, it's like there's just too many. I've had very long rides where I'm like, yes, I made this many kilometers today. The scenery's always been amazing in like Norway and Croatia and America. It's too long of a list, really. So anyway, that's probably the awesome things. Next one? How do you prepare yourself for an epic bike ride? Define epic, because if it's to do with weather, if it's going to be horrible snow or wind or rain or something, or a long day of riding and you've got limited daylight hours, I don't know how to describe it really. You have to make sure you bring the right rain gear. You have to check if you can continuously ride to the point that it doesn't get dark or something, or you can find a place to pitch the tent. That's also needs something to define it, don't you think?
Yes. Yeah.
It's a bit
Yeah, I'm drifting off a bit there on that question.
Yeah. It's too difficult.
Mhm.
Next one. What are
But-
these? Oh, you wanna?
Well, but basically, you just start with having breakfast.
And you see how the day goes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the right answer
Yeah.
I'm looking for. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Next one. What essentials would you not? Sorry. What essentials you wouldn't leave without?
The bike.
Duh. Like, I'd never do that. That's too easy to me. The first thing which came to mind when I heard that was wallet and passport. But that's generally when you're traveling anywhere.
Yeah, and for me personally, like a camera, something to write.
Yeah, like these special things.
Yeah.
It you know, these expensive things are much more valuable, and like what else? I don't know. That's pretty much it. I mean, if you have your phone, that's an essential. I've left like battery packs behind for my phone to charge. That was a big deal.
Or something to navigate.
Maps.
Yeah.
I mean, I used my phone. Did you use paper maps?
I did both. I prefer. I see advantages in both. And yeah,
You just use both.
I use both depending on the situation and where I am.
Right.
For Spain, for example, and Portugal, I did pretty good on paper maps.
Mm.
In countries like Belgium, I got lost on paper maps.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we'll leave it at that, and then we'll answer the rest of the questions in part. Well, it's going to be episode 4 anyway, and hopefully we'll be at 700 subscribers then. I don't know. That'd be great. I do appreciate that you came to answer some questions on the quote-unquote show, Walter.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for asking.
By the way, Walter's from Holland. Don't know if I mentioned that. So he knows all to do with bikes in his life.
Yeah, we do ride a lot of bikes there.
Yeah. It's like completely integrated, and in England, I didn't ride a bike till I was like 13 because I was in fear of them. And then I went to Holland, and then things changed. So, anyway, that's it for episode 3. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry if you heard any noises in the background. That's just because this is a very simple podcast / Q&A. Like the cat eating in the background because he's awesome. Aren't you, Angel? Can you hear him?
I'm awesome.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
There was
it.
a cat.
See you guys in the next one. Any questions, ask on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever. And that's it. Ciao for now.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
Bye.